As I'm sure you're aware, a lot of people want to know about the pool and what's
Yeah,
going on with the pool. Could you explain to us the problem behind the pool as far as what the city's dealing with, and then
yeah,
what the possible outcomes could be?
absolutely. Well, the pool is honestly has been a problem that's maybe been festering for a couple of years now, specifically because we're getting closer and closer to having to replace the pool liner, which is $75,000 plus dollars.
Right, and this pool is ran by the city, correct?
That's
For as a
correct.
public
Yeah.
pool, right?
Yes. The actually it's kind of strange. The actual property the pool is on actually belongs to the school,
Okay.
but the pool itself is ran by the park system. Burnworth Pool has been open for somewhere around 55 plus years. I think it had an upgrade in I want to say the 80s, but don't quote me quite on that. But in any case, it's been having, we've consistently been losing somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000 a year on that pool, which, I guess begs the question, well, what could we be doing with $35,000 to $45,000 extra in the park
Right.
budget each year for things like the other parks, maybe trails, there's lots of different options. I don't think, well, let me rewind and then I'll kind of tell you where I think we're at. So anyways, this has been a problem that basically the park boards in the past have been looking at for quite some time. We've gotten to a point now that the park board is kind of saying, I'm tired of kicking the can down the road. We need to address the problem and we need to figure it out. We need to figure out what we're going to do in the future now. I want to be very clear and say the pool is planning on being open this year. Outside of some major malfunction of the pool liner or the actual mechanical equipment, the pool should be open and fully running, as it usually does, which is, I believe, Memorial Day weekend they open up.
Okay.
So, but what the park board has decided to do is to have a comprehensive study, if you will, of the actual pool mechanics, the liner, get as much information as we can to make an informed decision on the lifespan of the current pool. And the park board and I, and obviously park director Mark Green, we all understand this is a very sensitive topic. We understand there's a lot of very good memories from the pool for lots of individuals. We understand that there are a lot of younger people who use the pool every summer, and a lot of parents, obviously, that like to take their kids to the pool. But as we started going through the facts and the numbers, we found out that it's somewhere around 2% of our city population that actually uses the pool. I guess out of that, we're saying, well, how much does the community really support the pool? They may support the concept of the pool and understand what the pool provides, but if you're not attending the pool, if you're not just being frank, if we're not paying for the pool, then are we really supporting the pool? Now, people will say, we're supporting it with tax dollars. And that's true. And that is, the tax budget is definitely supplementing that pool, like I said, to the tune of $35,000 to $45,000. So where are we at now? Well, they're going to be doing that study, hopefully sometime this month, when we kind of get the pool, start looking at it, start trying to get holes patched, get things together. So we're hoping that takes place sometime middle to end of this year, middle to end of this month. We're already to the middle, so I'm assuming it'll be in the next couple weeks. There has been no decision as to whether to close it, to build a new pool, to build a splash pad, to raise fees, to do anything. The park board has not made a decision because they're waiting to find out the actual lifespan of the pool. I don't think they're closed-minded to anything right now. I think you have, actually at our last park board meeting, there was a fair amount of citizens that showed up to express their belief that Columbia City can continue to support a pool, and that a pool is necessary for a community. it seemed to be a lot of swim team individuals, which is great. Excuse me, swim team families, which is great, and we know that the pool does supplement that on the the peak season. On the off season, they go to the Y. So there's a lot of options on the table, and I don't want to be too long-winded about this, but I think it became a little overblown when we started stating some of the facts, and people took that as, well, we're going to take those facts and we're not going to open the pool this year. We're going to close it down outright.
Yeah.
I don't think we're necessarily there yet, and I don't even know if we will ever get.
I have a question about the relationship between the school, where the property that it's on, and then you're saying the Parks Department. Now, those are two different departments. How do they communicate? What's the process they have to go through to communicate?
Yeah. Well, don't quote me on this.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that there is a long-term agreement, if you will, for the park to basically maintain the land, if you will, that the pool is on and around it, the grassy area. So there is a long-term agreement between the school and the Parks Department to continue to maintain that and do that type of thing. Now, we do know that in the future, at some point in time, we're going to get a new high school. I don't know if it'll be in the next 10 years. I don't know if it'll be in the next 100 years. But at some point, we're going to get a new high school. And I would bet my money that the high school will not stay at its current location.
Wanted to ask about, since you were on the subject of schools, we have another high school here. What's the other high school that we have besides Columbia City High School?
What do you mean?
There's two high schools in town.
Yeah, Eagle Tech. You're talking about Eagle Tech, yes.
I've talked to people, and a lot of people I don't think understand what Eagle Tech is, and I was wondering if you might be able to give just a brief, more detail to what's the difference between the two high schools.
Well, I can tell you, because I'm not necessarily directly affiliated with the school corporation, I can tell you as much as I know about it, and I can tell you what kind of things maybe we're working on from the city level. But Eagle Tech is basically a different way to approach subjects, from what I understand. It's much more hands-on, group project type oriented. It's not necessarily read this chapter out of your book. Next Friday, you're going to be tested on that chapter. It's not that way. It's much more project oriented, much more group project oriented. So you have individuals who, the students work together. Currently speaking, there are, I think, 100 freshmen at the location. There is supposedly, next year I believe they'll add 100 new freshmen, so you have freshmen and sophomores, ultimately working up to, I believe, 400 students total, obviously going from freshman to senior. I think that there was some backlash, if you will, from people in regards to, I think at one point they sold Marshall as being, it's a building we can't salvage, it's a building we can't have kids in, that's why we need to build a new middle school, that's why we need to do these different things. For them to put money into that, I think was a surprise and frustrating to some citizens. Now, what I'll say is I'm excited to see the results from that school, because I think it's a different way of learning. I think personally, on a personal level, I would have enjoyed that style of learning maybe a little bit more than high school. I think that style of learning is much, at least from my opinion, is geared toward college students, potential college students, because the way in which you work at college is typically not, let's read a chapter and take a test on it, but it's typically a comprehensive view of different subjects. It's a lot of group projects. It's a lot of hands-on learning. So to me, I'm excited to see the results that come out of that school.
And I know that you and I have talked about this real briefly before, and the idea of public access at the library. I know that's not your department, but being mayor and a little bit of a leader in the community, do you have a personal or professional view of understanding of what's going on over there, or what we could do with that?
Public access in regards to like a TV.
Yeah,
channel?
I've heard of public access television station. They have all the equipment, and I'm just wondering what might be holding that up. But I know that you might not be a decision maker in that process, but if you could enlighten us on what's going on.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is this: in the past, and I'm not sure how long ago it was. I think it was during Mayor Fleck's term. I don't know which of his two terms, but there was an agreement of some sort. Well, maybe it wasn't in his term, but in any case, there was an agreement that is actually basically statewide that says, okay, well, for us, MediaCom has to give or sets aside a certain amount of money for us to be able to do government access or do things like that. Back, I'm not sure how long ago it was, but at some point in time, there was a partnership trying to be formed between the school, the library, and the city. Ultimately, I believe what happened was the library, I'm not sure if we purchased the equipment or the library purchased the equipment, but it came from the dollars, I believe, came from MediaCom. And that equipment actually is still at the library, which I think is what you were alluding to.
Yeah.
As it kind of went down the road, I think there was some question as to the actual staffing from the library's point of view of whether or not they would be able to handle this or have a staff person to dedicate toward this type of project. From the city's point of view, I think there was some legality questions about public access. We were steered more toward government access because public access, it's hard to tamper free speech on that. Not that we would ever want to do that, but it opens up a door in which you can have all kinds of different material on there that isn't necessarily always family friendly. So I think we were leaning toward government access in some way, shape, or form. And then, like I said, with the library saying, they don't really have staffing available for the project, basically got shut down.
Okay. And
from our good.
No. I want you to answer or finish. What's on your thought?
No, I was just going to say I think from our perspective, we're looking at some potential opportunities for some kind of government access channel. In fact, James Tomlinson from the Post and Mail has been recording with his camera our meetings, and I think you can see him on the whitleytv.info or whatever that channel is that Otto Bouchette Jr. or whatever he runs, but he also does the county commissioners meeting, so he's fairly skilled in that kind of thing. But in any case, we may be leaning towards something like that. I think the biggest issue is finding out what kind of equipment we did purchase back in the day, and what is usable now versus not being usable. Another discussion that we've had at a city council meeting was whether or not we wanted to televise our city council and board of works meetings. I think ultimately we said we do. We want to continue to increase our transparency and provide the opportunities for citizens to be able to see our meetings and hear exactly what we say. But the debate came in as to whether or not we were going to do it live or I guess archive it.
Right.
So that kind of became a discussion. That, long story short, on that is that we're looking into information on digital, basically long-term digital recorders, and then also, more importantly, the storage space. That's where you have lots of issues, is the storage space on our servers, and so we're working on it. That's the best I can say about that.
Okay, no, that's